show. Come on. Bad black mama's gonna let you know now. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Come on. Let's chit chat. Let's chit chat. Let's chit chat, sis. Hey.
Ladies, how are you doing today?
Hey.
Well, hello.
Welcome, Malika.
Welcome.
Malika's our bonus daughter, and she is joining us on the porch. This is Chauncey, but she's really actually Chauncey's honor bonus love daughter. So we're glad you're here. And Chauncey,
Thank you
for bringing your daughter.
Thanks for coming.
I know it's great. We had to bring some young folks onto the porch because we like, not that you're not seasoned, Malika, but we are a little bit more seasoned. We like rotisserie chicken.
Okay.
We like rotisserie chicken. We've been sitting and marinating for a while, and we kind of fall off the bone. So we need to get some perspective from you can see really good. You see life a little different than us. So we like
Yes.
you're prettier than us. You know what I mean? You ain't having no aches and pains. Hopefully not like we have. And we are really ecstatic that you're on here today, Malika.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. So ladies, I have a topic that I just want to get your first thoughts and your honest opinion. So when I say Black people versus Black people, what do you think? What's the first thing you think off the top of your head? Chauncey.
I think ageism generations. I think I hear a lot of us, including myself, love to say, that generation. The fact that I'm even of an age where I can say that generation or those generations view it this way. That's the first thing that I think of, because I think that encompasses so much in how we view the world, how we view technology, how we view the workforce. I think, is really different generationally.
Okay. Malika.
I think of colorism, light versus dark, just the history behind it all. Being lighter skin are more so entitled to more privileges. That history has come about and still present today. So it plays a part in our community, in our history, in our jobs, in our relationships, everything.
That's a good one too.
That's a good one. That's a real good one.
Keisha.
When I think of Black versus Black, I think of racism and resilience. I think of racism because I've been looking at YouTube a lot, and I've been looking at people from the past, iconic figures from the past. It was talking about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the racism and things that they have faced. And I'm thinking about the things they experienced, we're not experiencing today. And so their perspective, well, can't even really say that either, but their perspective is and the way they view things may be a little different from a younger generations. Also, the resilience of Black people. They were very resilient in the things that they went through, and they had a determination and a resolve. And sometimes I think it may get lost. Hopefully it's building up again, but it may have gotten lost with us being far removed from things that happened in the past. That's what I think about.
I think I agree with everybody's thought on that. That was really good, y'all, because that was really good. Like colorism. Oh my God. Like when I think about, this is gonna sound crazy, y'all. But when we was growing up, because me and Keisha and Johnson, we in the same kind of back bracket as far as age. But I just remember like when we were younger, we kind of went through a phase where like if you were light skinned and you was kind of considered the pretty one, and if you weren't, if you were brown skinned, you was all right, and like then the tide changed, like especially with guys. I can tell you with guys, what I mean, with guys, when we was back in the day, the light skinned, pretty curly headed was in, and the brown skinned brother, he kind of he kind of like wiggled his way in there somewhere. You know what I mean? Then it kind of changed. Didn't it change? Like
Yep.
we don't want them no more. You know what I mean?
It kind of changed in the 90s because I remember seeing Gabrielle Union on TV and stuff, and other brown girls, Nia Long, and it's like, okay, a representation of me.
Of
on TV.
Yep.
I just remember that. So yeah.
Yep.
It did change.
Yeah, you know
And
that
so the
changed.
perspective of beauty changed. So yeah,
exactly.
correct.
And family wise too, because I grew up in a family where we were the gamut of complexions. So even with my mother's 3 children, right? So we were, you know, one was darker, one was brown, and one was fair, right? So just right there in that one family. But my mother did not allow us to speak on that had no bearing on anything in our house. She can't control what happened outside of the home, but in you better not ever, it better not cross your lips. so then therefore it wasn't that it was taboo, it's just that it just didn't happen. And when and if it did, it was usually because someone from the outside came in and made an issue. And so she would always shut that down because her mindset was the 3 of you came from the same place. So it don't matter, meaning her. So it don't matter what you look like. This is where y'all came from. So it was hard for me dealing with it when you got outside, but it was still other family members, family members down south, and how they were with color. And I remember visiting family members in Louisiana, and they're kind of like, you need to cover up when you go outside. Like, I'm going outside to play. Why? So yeah, it hurts sometimes when you think about it, but at the same time, it's like we haven't graduated from it in a certain type of way.
No,
just kind of move the needle a little, but it's still there for sure.
It's still there, Do you think, Malika? Go ahead, Malika.
I think that like what Chauncey was saying, like probably back then it wasn't really discussed. I see now I'm working with kids and their families, adults and their families. It is more so of a discussion, I guess for empowerment purposes at this time, just to bring awareness, especially when you have a scale of a different complexions of siblings in the house. So in the house of a mom and dad may instill that empowerment, just letting them know that they're all equal, they're all the same, they all came from the same place, and that no one should feel lesser than the other because of their skin. So when it's being discussed in the house, they're not really fazed about it outside. They're not like, let's say if you have a lighter brother or sister, they're not going outside feeling more privileged than their counterpart who is darker than them, because it was instilled at home that we're all the same. Whereas, a few decades ago, it probably wasn't discussed. It was kind of like swept under the rug, and just like you knew you were better in the outside world, but you didn't necessarily discuss it.
Okay.
And Chauncey knows my mother and my father. My father's passed, but we live next door. We shared the same porch, and if people saw my mother, they thought my mother was white. You know what I mean? And my father was dark skinned, very dark skinned. You know what I mean? So it's a gamut of colors when it comes to my brothers and sisters, and I think I'm probably the darkest one. But that never mattered in our house. Like when I tell you, like Chauncey knows my mom. You know what I mean? If you see my mom, you see her today, you just kind of question. You know what I mean? But that wasn't, like you said, Malika, that wasn't really discussed. But I'm gonna take this in another direction, y'all. What about Black people attacking Black people?
Attacking and
verbally
attacking each other just for anything. You know what I mean?
I think we're hard on each other. I think we definitely are harder on each other. So even if you look at it from a social media perspective, everything that we do, we'll be the first person to tear each other down.
Bing.
will be the first person to break down what that person is doing and how we think they should act, and so on and so forth. But again, it changes based on what I was saying before about generation, right? So yeah, we definitely attack each other for sure.
And I don't even know if it's just a media thing, y'all. Y'all help me out with this, because when I see things, and I actually saw this lady on TikTok the other day, I was like, "Oh, yo, what in the hell?" She had on like this. I don't know. I think it was supposed to be a 90, but she had to be around my age, and she was stripping and all kinds of stuff, and I was like, damn, what possessed you to do that, lady? You know what I mean? But and I start to think, and I look, and I always look at comments. Do y'all look at the comments from people?
That's
Sometimes
the first
I
thing.
just need to get some entertainment.
Yeah.
But I'm like, yeah, people were saying the craziest stuff. So when I see somebody say something crazy, I go look at the person and be like, okay. But I kind of think that, of course, there's some white folks out there doing some crazy, hideous things. But why, when we do something, it seems like it's a little different? Am I off base, y'all? Don't it seem like we just really go at each other's asses over this? Like, okay, but I know I just see this white chick over here riding a donkey backwards naked. You know what I mean? And no one is like going at her like we go at each other. Like, even down to like, attacking each other for, I don't like your wig. You know what I mean? I don't like this. I mean,
Well, first of all, we shouldn't have an opinion about everything. If it's not bothering you, then why say anything? The next thing I think is why people attack is because maybe it's perpetuating an image that we're trying not to have, that is thrust upon us like, okay, yeah, they are this, or yeah, they are that. So when we see someone that is doing the negative things, we automatically say, why are they representing us? Because it seems like one person do something and they're the representative of all Black people. Correct. And so we don't want to perpetuate that negative image. That's my thoughts.
That's a really good thought. So look, we're not here. We can't solve world hunger on our podcast today. But I just want to get, just some final thoughts on this. What do you think we can do? Just everybody's their own individual thought. What can we do to kind of change that narrative? Because I know minding our own business is probably the first thing I would do, is mind my own business, because it really don't mean that much to me. But what can we do outwardly to kind of kill this? Because this goes into so many different levels, you know what I mean? Even down to, I don't know if y'all look at the morning, like the national news, and I saw Charlemagne the God on there, and I was like, okay. And then I had to stop myself, really, because he's entitled to an opinion. You know what I mean? He's just more of a celebrity than me, because they don't want to hear my opinion. But just what he was saying, it kind of alluded that he was speaking for all people of color. You see what I'm saying? Which I don't think he's speaking for all people of color, because he damn sure wasn't talking for me, because that wasn't nothing I would ever say. But to make a point, you know what I mean? And like Keisha said, we all seem to be encompassed in one person's opinion, or one person foul doing, or, anything that may not be completely positive. Can I say that? And we all seem to be under that label and that title. What can we just do different? Because, this is an election year, and I think that anybody who can walk up, speak up, talk up, you know what I mean, is going to be heard. And I think it may not be heard for the right reason. My son actually said this to me today, that, he doesn't even, and my son's birthday is tomorrow, and he is going to be 27, and to tell me that he cannot talk about anything that's got to do with Black people in an election because the last one drained him too bad. I just was like, okay. But you know what? It really struck me. You see what I'm saying? Like, we don't hear other nationalities having this issue. I said a lot in one thing. So okay.
You did. Okay.
I said a lot.
Now I don't think, okay, me personally, what I could do I might not can speak to the person that's far away, but if it's someone that you know that you that's doing something negative, then you can have a conversation, try to speak to them, or try to figure out how you can help them, because maybe it's something they need some help on. And then going back to what your son said, I agree. The election process and what's going on is very draining. I already know who I'm going to vote for, so I shut down media on all those other topics, and that's it, because I am not going to let anything drain my spirit down. And so I totally get where he's coming from with that. But going back, that's all. Speak to the person you can speak to and try to help.
You can do that. I agree with that. But also, too, social media plays a huge role in all of the perspectives that people my age, younger, older, may change to have. So I think going to social media and not just looking at the comments, but being part of the comment. And even if you got to be the target person to say the opposite of what the majority is going with, if you want to get on there and say something positive while there's a million negative comments, then that could start by being a change. You never know who's watching, who's scared to say something, who will like it, and who will follow up. So just
Very
making
good.
those small steps. Mm-hmm.
See, I told you we need some young voices in here, because all of our little wrinkle ass little tails and said, I'm trying to go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with everyone. And Malika, I believe it starts with you, right? And it could speak to where you are in your life. You might surprise yourself if you are even the one to comment, or just like you said, Kimmy, you looked at it when you saw Charlemagne and you gave the side eye, right? And you just but it made you more introspective, and now you're kind of like, oh my gosh, am I that person? And that's how you have to look at it sometimes, right? But to what Malika and Keisha were saying about starting small, right? The people in our lives, how do we treat our loved ones? How do we treat our siblings when they're doing something, or we know that they need a little bit of guidance? Are we doing it lovingly? Are we doing where we're pointing fingers at them, so then therefore they can't hear what we're saying because of the way that we're approaching them? I think it's an opportunity for us to see it in that manner. And so then therefore we start with ourselves and how we address the world. Then sometimes, like Malika said, somebody will see how you're doing it and they will take that opportunity to do the same thing. And then you'll find that you're not that lone wolf that feels one particular way when the rest of the world is heading in a different direction.
And I just want to say one thing to close. Do you not think that the negative is starting to outweigh the positive? That's why so many people don't speak up and say things now. Just like you were saying, Malika, even if, you're not the majority of what the comments are actually saying, I just want to understand, how did we get here? You know what I mean? In this, well, that's a whole nother conversation. That's a whole nother episode, that how did we get here? But I think this was a great starting point. Malika, you must come back, please. Please come back. We really appreciate your voice on here today. And I think that when we move further down this path, because things are going to start to get a little heated, I think we can start to elaborate on this conversation. I really want to elaborate on this conversation, because we have other people that need to join us on the porch. We need to get Jared on here, Jade on here. You know what I mean? We need to get, Celeste and Celeste's daughters, Jansen and on, and well, I don't know, got a brain freeze. But there are all these young people on here, so we can make small changes that will ultimately turn to bigger changes. Because Black versus Black doesn't mean it has to be something negative. Black versus Black should be just Black people, and we stand for Black people. We are Black people, and we need to progress as Black people in a positive way. Just because one person is out of millions do something, it doesn't put us all under the same persona as something negative, degenerate, or even a failure. You know what I mean? Or antagonistic, or even to the point where we don't even like each other. I look at what we said: colorism. You know what I mean? Racism. Ageism. All these things are not really good things. You see what I'm saying? When we talk about it in the perspective that's something that we should be proud of. So that's just my final thoughts. Anybody has any other final thoughts? Chauncey, Malika, Keisha?
I think I agree with you. It's not, even though we titled it Black versus Black, it's not necessarily in a negative perspective, right? And that's how we have to view this, going forward. What are the differences between us if we're on different sides of the fence? Why are we on different sides of the fence? Is it because of how we were raised? Because we have, background traumas and all of these other things that can feed into that? What is the reason? And do we have the wherewithal, the patience, and the perseverance to sit back and understand why things are happening the way that they are, and then figuring out how to do our part?
Sounds good. Malika and Keisha, y'all have any final thoughts?
I would just add to what Chauncey said with understanding. I know me particularly, I've been attending virtual town hall meetings. So they have been very crucial to understanding what the younger crowd is going through and how to kind of deal with them, or go to them about whatever it is that is making them act out or making them be or feel a certain way. So I would just say look out for those town hall meetings and go to them, because that's where you can kind of start to get the understanding about why older people fear living in their community, why younger people are being more violent in their community, why there's a difference between the lighter and darker skin in the community, the education, the everything in the community. So I would definitely encourage attending those town hall meetings.
Well, you make sure you get some information and share it with us, or Chauncey will definitely share it with us, Malika, because we definitely want to become a part of that, because I think that the whole goal of Let's Chit Chat Sis, we do focus on women, but you know what I mean? But we focus on topics. We focus on topics that's going to change the narrative. We focus on the positive, you know what I mean? And what can we do to change? And we definitely want to be a part of that, Malika. And thank you for sharing that. Keisha, you have any final thoughts?
My final thought would be to listen to understand. Like going to those things are very important. Talking to different people, getting different perspectives is very important. But try to listen to understand and not to respond.
I had to teach myself that over the years, so
and that's hard to do. That is
that's really hard to do. It really is not an easy task, because my daughter, as I think I told y'all this before, my daughter told me that I used to just respond. You know what I mean? I'm listening to respond, and that's not good, because you miss everything. So I think over the years I have taught myself, your kids gonna teach you a lot. You know what I mean? And Malik, your kids gonna teach you a lot. Because we all parents. You know what I mean? But that's really good. So this was a great episode, ladies. And again, Malika, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You are wonderful, dear, and we will definitely have you back. And look, think of some topics and share them, and so we can
bring them to the table.
Yeah, bring them to the table. Bring them to the porch. Bring them to the porch.
Yes.
All right. So everybody, joining me tonight is
I'm your girl Chauncey,
and I'm Keisha,
and I'm Malika.
And I'm your girl, Kimmy. Have a good week on purpose, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Ooh, take care.